Hello everyone and welcome to the Gemini Journalist. It's always an honor to have you joining me, taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join me here on my channel. Now we have finally completed all the chapters of the Rookie series, both the Rookie Helena Carson Finds True Love and the Rookie The Royal Wedding. I hope you all enjoyed the journey we were on where it comes on to those novels. And taking a break from my work, we are moving down to works of other authors right across the world. As I had mentioned, I do have works from different authors to share with you. So today I am doing the interview with Vanirl Mitchell, who is indeed the author of Marley Learns Her ABC. Now, this is a illustrated book for children. Very interesting, very awesome book. My kids actually enjoyed this one. I read it as a bedtime story for them over and over. They enjoy it, and of course I can't go without having to sing the ABC at the end of this one. So without further delay, we're just going to head right into it. We have Vanirl Mitchell here with us today. All right, everyone. So like I said, we do have Vanirl Mitchell, who is indeed doing the interview with me today, and his novel, I do have a copy here with me. He shipped this one personally down for me to have a copy at hand. So this is indeed Marley Learns Her ABC, and this one is located on Amazon. So definitely I'll go ahead and include my links down below. So you can definitely reach out to him through social media and you can get yourself a copy from Amazon. So without further delay, Vanirl, welcome to the Gemini Journalist. So I do have my first question for you today. I do have a lineup about 10 different questions that I do have to ask you. And I am not even going to delay much. The first one I have is for you to just go ahead and tell us a little about yourself. You know, who is Vanirl Mitchell? Let everyone know, who you are. Let's go.
So my name, of course, is Vanirl Mitchell, and as far as my ethnicity and cultural background are both concerned, I am born to Caribbean parents. Both of my parents are from Antigua in the West Indies, and they immigrated to the U.S. in the early 1980s. So I grew up in New Jersey. I currently live in Maryland with my wife and 2 children. We have a daughter and we have a son. Now, as far as my day job is concerned, I occupy an administrative role in higher education. I love what I do. And speaking of education, I have a bachelor's degree myself in psychology and a master's degree in management. In my free time, I like to do a variety of things. I don't really have that much free time, at least I don't consider myself to have a lot of free time because I try to stay busy. But in my free time, I do enjoy music. I love music from a wide range of eras and different genres. I enjoy NBA basketball. The season just started, so I'm very excited about that. As you can imagine, I do enjoy exercising. Working out is something that I really make time for every single day. I enjoy riding my motorcycle. That's something I enjoy doing as well. I don't do that every day, but I do enjoy doing it. And of course, writing. Writing is one of my pastimes as well.
All right, awesome. There we go. So, hearing from the horse's mouth, as they would put it, that is Vanirl telling you about himself. Now, Vanirl, how did your journey begin as an author?
So, where did my journey as an author begin? It began in earnest about 8 years ago, but actually let me back up a little bit. I've always enjoyed writing. Writing has always been a pastime of mine. I've always enjoyed communicating with the pen, so to speak. But again, 8 years ago is when my journey as an author really did begin. And it began because I decided at that point that I would write a book that confronted in a roundabout way some trauma that I endured in my childhood. So at the time at which I made that decision, I didn't know what I was going to do with the book. I just knew I was going to write it. I didn't know who would ever lay eyes on the book besides myself. I had certainly hadn't decided to release the book at that point. And I'm still actually writing it. 8 years later, the book still hasn't been finished, but I do intend to finish it in the next few months here, and I have decided that I will indeed publish it. So when I do release the book, it'll actually be, the 3rd book that I've released even though I've been working on this one, it's remained, you know, a work in progress, certainly for the longest. Now, I guess you could say my journey then began as a therapeutic one. You know, that is how I entered this realm of being an author. I decided that I would write this book as a means of confronting, again, you know, some trauma that I endured in my childhood, if not to heal from it. You know, I was hoping to get some healing out of it. I didn't know if it would heal me, and I still don't know, you know, if it will heal that part of me altogether, but that was certainly part of my intent. The other part was really one that is rooted in self-fulfillment. You know, I thought of this as a gargantuan project, you know, and I looked forward to not only the process, you know, but of course, seeing it through until the end. So that is where my journey began.
All right, there we go. Pretty much interesting. That is the journey of Vanirl Mitchell as an author. Now, down to number 3 or third question for you today, or third part today is, at what point do you think someone should call themselves an author? When is it that you believe is the best time for anyone to be branded as an author?
So when should someone consider themselves a writer? Well, I think there's a lot of freedom that we can use when describing that term and assigning it definition. You know, obviously there's a professional aspect to consider, right? There are folks who make a living from their writing, who get paid to write. But outside of that, there are a lot of folks who can consider themselves writers. I think it really comes down to the thought that goes into the writing, you know, because being a writer, to me anyway, right, has everything to do with the process, how much thought you put into it, how you are intentional, you know, with the words that you use and how you structure them to communicate a message. So I think that if you are investing, you know, a lot of thought, you're going beyond casual writing to invest your thought in delivering a message that is done in a thoughtful way, in a structured way, you know, again, one that goes beyond just casual communication, where you care about the end product and how it is received, regardless of the audience. And I think that's when someone can consider themselves a writer, when they make that activity a habit.
All right, awesome sauce. So moving on, do you believe there is a difference between an author and a writer?
The difference between a writer and an author, that's an interesting question. I think I take more of a traditional line of defining what an author is. I think being an author goes beyond, you know, the thought that gets invested into, you know, how you know, words are structured, how a message is communicated, and really takes that into the context of writing a book, right? So a writer might prepare a lot of different thought pieces, for example, you know, and commentary that they might share in different spaces about varying topics. And that isn't to say, of course, that that commentary isn't valuable. A lot of the best things I've read in many cases, you know, have been written and prepared in that context, in that kind of writing space. But I think for me anyway, you know, changing from being a writer to an author has everything to do with how that work is arranged. I think you become an author once you arrange your writing in a book. I hope that makes sense.
All right, now there is a very popular author's term that is used. It's known as author's block. Do you, as an individual, as an author yourself, do you believe in the term author's block? And if yes, expound, you know, just share a little bit more about how, you know, just expound on it. Tell us a little bit more about author's block itself, and if you do believe in it.
Oh, I absolutely believe in writer's block. I have experienced that myself, you know, from time to time, especially over the past years as I have worked on this, what should have been my first project. intermittently. And a lot of things can contribute to writer's block. And in many instances, it's really a mental, mental obstacles that kind of create that block. That's why I really do think it's very important that we pay attention to nurturing our mental health, to make sure that we're in a space that allows us to be productive, especially when it comes to projects that we have to work on that require concentration, that require willpower, that require perseverance. It's very important to be in a mental space that facilitates that kind of effort. So yes, I do believe in writer's block, and I believe that it has more to do with a mental space than anything else. And I do certainly encourage people who are embarking upon a writing journey or any other journey, to ensure that we do what we can anyway, right? The most that we can in earnest to make sure that we are in the right mental space for it.
All right, sounds good. And how do you deal with negative feedback? I know in everything that anybody does, there's always, if it's even just one person who has something negative to say, how do you as an author deal with negative feedback? What's your approach on it?
So how do I manage negative book reviews? With tears. No, not with tears, but I am sensitive. I think I'm sensitive about my writing, and that's really because I consider my writing to really be an extension of my thoughts, my creativity, my abilities, in many ways an extension of myself. So I am quite sensitive about how my work is received. Now, that said, I also have to be fair with myself. So I try to temper that sensitivity with reality, right? And the reality in this case being that it's impossible to please everyone. The idea that anything can be universally appreciated is an idea that we have to allow ourselves to discard, right? In order to protect ourselves, really. So yes, I do take criticism about my writing seriously. That criticism, whether it be good or bad, again, I do take it seriously, but I try to be realistic at the same time, especially because I know, I feel confident that whenever I produce a piece of writing, and especially when I release it for others to see, that I have given it my best effort. So that's how I manage negative reviews as far as my writing is concerned.
All right, here we go with our next question. So, what was the most difficult part of your writing process?
Well, the most difficult part of the writing process for me is actually the very end, when it's time to release a work that I have created. And I guess that's really tied to my answer to the previous question, right? And it really relates to my sensitivity, because, I'm excited, right, as I approach the time at which I intend to release a work. And I'm looking forward to it until that very moment, until the moment actually arrives, because then the excitement that had been generated, the confidence that I had built, somehow that gets transformed. It feels like magic, but it gets transformed into fear and anxiety. And really because of the unknown. I don't know how it's going to be received, regardless of how many times I review this particular piece, how many times I've made changes to it, regardless of how much I like it, and I approve of it. I don't know how it will be received. So the fear surrounding that does create some anxiety, and that therefore, is the hardest part of the writing process for me, actually releasing, a work that I have created for others to see. Yeah, there have been instances, certainly, I've released 2 books already where I have had to talk myself into pressing the button, where I've had to call my wife, for example, for external support, external assurance, that the time was right. So yes, that part is difficult for me. I think more difficult easily than any other part of the process.
All right, nice, Vanirl. So as an author already published and went through most of the publishing, learning how to do this on your own as a self-published author, the illustrations, working with illustrators, what sort of feedback would you give to an upcoming author, someone who is just doing this for the very first time and is scared to take the first foot forward? What is your take on it? What sort of encouragement do you have to give individuals who are just becoming authors or wanting to become authors?
Well, I'm still a new author myself. I've only released 2 books to date, but I still think I have some very useful advice to offer to a new author. And I would say, above all, do not allow fear to cripple you. Do not be crippled by fear. Because I understand, certainly, as I just mentioned a little while ago, the fears surrounding releasing your work, into this space where, you are subject to receiving a wide range of reviews. Some of them potentially bad, right? I can certainly understand that being a real fear. And I understand why. That said, however, you don't allow that fear to stop you from engaging in the process, right? Because be fair to yourself, just be intent on producing your very best, right? And when you get to the point where you can fairly believe, right, that you have done your very best, and you've taken whatever measures make you comfortable and feeling secure as far as that is concerned, go ahead with it. Go. Again, don't allow the reason to be fear, right? That you do not chase your destiny if you believe that being an author is part of that destiny. Don't be crippled by fear. That is the single biggest piece of advice that I can offer a new author.
All right, awesome. Now this one is a little funny one because I myself is self-published and I also did my book covers myself. So this question is, authors out there who decide, they want to create their own work, they want to do self-publishing and they want to do their own covers, what sort of encouragement, what do you have, what sort of feedback do you have to give to individuals who decide they want to design their own books?
So to an author who wanted to design their own cover, well, I would say a few things. Number one, I certainly appreciate individuality. I appreciate originality. My first name is Vanirl, and when I was a kid, I actually didn't like my first name. Why? Because kids don't tend to have an appreciation for the original, right? They want to blend in. They don't want to be outliers. They're afraid of what that means. But as I grew older and developed the ability to appreciate originality, I started to love my name, and I wouldn't have it any other way at this point. So that said, I certainly do appreciate originality. I appreciate individuality, and I think that should be infused, right, as far as the presentation of someone's work is concerned. That said, it is also important to keep in mind the importance of delivering a message, communicating a message in the way that we intend to do, right? So I think it's important to seek advice. I think it's important later to seek feedback, regarding the cover of a book, because despite the adage that advises against judging books by their cover, a lot of people do. So the cover of a book is going to be very important, and so therefore it's important that you take it very seriously. Don't allow yourself to become stubborn, because you're so married to your idea that you're unwilling to change it, if it might need changing in order to be more effective in communicating your message.
All right, great. And down to our final question for today. What point, or was there any part in your novel or your books, at what part in any of your work did you have that stumbling block, that part where you literally took a pause and you just couldn't go forward? Was there any part in your work while working? Was there any section that you had challenges? If you faced any challenges like this, did you, or were you just easy breeze and just went on straight through until you were ready to finish? Tell us all about that.
Well, in the case of the book in discussion here, Marley Learns Her ABCs, the hardest part of the book, or maybe I should describe it this way, the hardest aspect, of the book to write was actually just its overall structure as a poem, right? My book rhymes, and I'm not a poet. I don't have much in the way of experience in writing extended pieces that rhyme. So although I had the story together, I knew exactly what I wanted the story to communicate. I knew how I wanted it to develop. Taking that story and translating it to one that, did have rhyming qualities, and rhyming timbre, throughout. That was challenging. And it was fulfilling in the end. I'm happy with how it came out. But that was indeed a challenge for me, and I think that would have been the biggest challenge as far as the writing is concerned for my first book, Marley Learns Her ABCs.
All right, nice. Thank you so much, Vanirl, for being here with us today. It was an honor having you joining me here on my channel, The Gemini Journalist, and I do look forward to reading your novel here or your books here on my channel. Once again, guys, introducing to you Marley Learns Her ABCs. This one was done by Vanirl. Down below in the description, you can definitely go ahead and check out the links to his books that are available on Amazon. I've also included links to his social media sites as an author, so you can go ahead and check that out. Now, if you do have any questions, any concerns, if you're an author viewing and you also want to have me reading your works here, reach out to me, drop a comment below, go ahead and follow me on social media, and reach out to me. Definitely we could hook something up. Now, I just want to thank you all again for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to join me here on The Gemini Journalist as I continue to read and sway you away with the magical readings of works of myself and other authors. Remember, I am still sharing with you, history of my very own culture here in Jamaica. So stick around for all the international viewers. Stick around. You've got lots to learn about my country here in Jamaica. Now, without delay, go ahead again, tap on the links down below. Check out the works on Amazon. You can get yourself a copy. For my books, you can definitely reach out to me locally if you're here in Jamaica, and I can hook you up with your very own autographed copy. All right, without delay, you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. You stay safe, walk good, be blessed, and have a grand time. Take care, walk good. Peace out.